Hey y'all, it's Lizzie and welcome back to my channel, and today we are going to continue with our Haunted History Week. So today is October 27th and that means that we are talking about the Adolphus Hotel. So if you are not from the DFW area or from Texas, or you're not into like haunted stuff, you've probably never heard about this hotel. This hotel is pretty old. It is the first grand and posh hotel to ever be opened in Dallas, and it's one of the oldest ones, one of the oldest buildings in the vicinity. So get some hot apple cider, get a nice apple pie, and let's sit down and talk about the Adolphus Hotel. Let's go over some of the history about this hotel. So this hotel is of course located in Dallas, Texas. It is right in the middle of downtown. It is a beautiful hotel. I've been there once, and yes, I'm going to talk about that, but again, we're going over the history. First things first, this hotel was opened back on October 5th, 1912. So that was a long ass time ago. That was over 100 years ago. The hotel is about 108 years old. This October 5th, it just turned 108 years old. As I said, it is the first grand and posh hotel in Dallas. So Dallas has always had hotels, but it's never had that like grandeur. You know what I mean? Like, you know how rich people like to have that area where they're like, yeah, we're more fancy than you because everything we're using is more expensive than what you have? That's what this hotel was for people in 1912. In Dallas, we didn't have one of these, so it was basically rich people saying like, ooh, let's make a hotel that only we can use. And that's actually going to talk a lot about the more recent history. So aside from this hotel being one of the first posh hotels, you can kind of, if you think about the times and the time era and the economic situations that we were at and the racial, political situations we were at in that era, you can kind of see how a lot of minorities might not have been allowed in this hotel. In fact, this hotel was a resting place for the KKK and strongly supported segregation in the 1950s. Back in the 1900s, you couldn't really go through downtown because there was an entire hotel filled with KKK members. So, but of course, there's also the haunted history of the hotel. I know this is called Haunted History, so I know we want to go into the spooky stuff. If we want to talk about politics, let me know and I'll film something for November. It's feeling spicy. Anyway, so the haunted stories about this hotel are actually pretty creepy. One of the main stories that people hear about is the bride on the 19th floor. She basically killed herself after her fiance left her at the altar. Didn't even leave her at the altar, he actually didn't show up. This was in the 1930s. People say that you can see her walking around in her wedding dress. Essentially, she killed herself on the 19th floor. Another thing that happened, and this one was a little bit more recent and it's not as well documented, was a old woman who used to frequent at the hotel. She passed away and they started seeing her spirit at her usual table. So if you go to their restaurant, sometimes at night, if you take a picture of her table, you might even see her spirit. So my experience in this hotel, it isn't as creepy as it was at the Goatman's Bridge, and it isn't as creepy as other stories that we're gonna tell for the rest of the week. Basically, I went to this hotel back in 2019 with my friends from my old job at City Year. We were celebrating one of their birthdays and her mom had points and we were able to stay at the Adolphus Hotel for free, essentially. So we were only staying for one night. It was a little weird. So when we first got there, I had always known that there was a haunted hotel in Dallas, Texas. I just didn't know which one, because yeah, now Dallas has got a lot of hotels. Dallas is a pretty big city, y'all. We went to this hotel and at first, like, it felt really weird because of how old everything looked. Like, this is a posh hotel, okay? And this is 1912, so think Titanic type of like structure and stuff. So if you think about like the elevators in the Titanic and like the type of architecture that they had, that's kind of what this hotel looks like when you first walk in. We got into the elevator and it was actually really weird because it was like mirrors, but it kind of looked like an old doorway. Like, it looked like it was made out of old doors, so it was pretty creepy, and it always felt like you were being watched. We didn't want to go into our room alone. None of us wanted to go upstairs alone. One of my friends, she had to go back to get something and she was like, one of y'all gotta come with me. I am not walking up there alone. And later I actually researched the hotel, and that's when I started to find out like, oh gosh, this is the hotel that I've been meaning to visit for the longest time. I was just waiting for me to have enough money to stay there because, you know, broke. Keep in mind, when I say that this is an expensive hotel, I mean like one of the cheapest rooms to get is like $296 a night. So your girl couldn't afford going there if it weren't for the fact that her friend had points. This hotel is pretty creepy. You can walk around. I actually got extremely drunk that night. This was before I went sober. So I don't recall anything else except waking up in the morning and realizing, oops, we got a gear. Again, not as interesting. A little taste. So if y'all ever want to visit this place, or if you ever start looking into it, it's actually pretty interesting. I didn't look into a lot of the history because it's really tricky to piece things together since it's not a notorious thing. But I know for a fact that there's more stories. I know there's more stuff, especially the whole racist stuff. But that is all I have for you guys today. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Comment down below if you've ever been to a haunted hotel and you kind of have like a weird experience. Subscribe if you want to see more videos. This week I am posting videos every single day leading up to Halloween and just going over the haunted history of different locations that I've either been to or that I really like to research. All of my social media will be down in the description below, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye y'all.